Something is watching you right now, or at least it might be. Because if you own a cat, statistically speaking, there is a reasonable chance that somewhere in your home, a pair of eyes is locked on you with an intensity and a stillness that, if you stop and think about it, is genuinely unsettling. Your cat is staring at you? Again, with that unblinking, focused, luminous gaze that lands somewhere between deeply loving and calculating. And the question you've probably asked yourself while trying to meet that gaze: what are they actually doing? What is happening inside that mind? Is this affection? Predatory instinct? Something else entirely? Is the question we are going to answer today. And the answers, drawn from research at the University of Sussex, Oregon State University, and the University of Lincoln, are going to completely change how you understand what is happening every time your cat fixes that gaze on you. The science is fascinating, occasionally disturbing, and ultimately, if you're a cat person, deeply moving. The domestic cat, Omphalos catus, is one of the most peculiar success stories in the history of animal domestication. Unlike dogs, which humans deliberately bred over 15,000 years for specific traits of cooperation and social bonding, cats largely domesticated themselves. Beginning approximately 10,000 years ago, as human agricultural settlements created concentrations of grain that attracted rodents, wild cats began following the food supply into human habitats. Over generations, the cats most tolerant of human proximity survived and reproduced in the domestic environment. The most fearful did not. The result was not a tame wild cat. It was something biologically novel, an animal that retains the full predatory architecture of a wild solitary hunter, the neural wiring, the sensory systems, the instinctive behavioral repertoire, while coexisting with and forming genuine bonds with a completely different species. This is the essential context for understanding the cat stare. When your cat fixes that intense, unblinking gaze on you, you are looking at a creature whose visual system, instinctive behavior, and cognitive processing are those of an apex micropredator, an animal that in the wild would use this exact quality of focused gaze to track prey, assess threat, and evaluate social dominance with other cats, now living in your kitchen and directing those systems at you. The cat's visual system is extraordinary. A research from the University of California, Santa Barbara on feline visual neuroscience documents that cats have a visual field of approximately 200 degrees compared to humans' 180, with exceptional motion detection ability, far superior to ours, that allows them to detect movement at distances and speeds invisible to the human eye. They have 6 to 8 times more rod cells in their retinas than humans, giving them remarkable low-light vision. And their pupils can dilate or contract to a degree that allows rapid adjustment across an enormous range of lighting conditions. When a cat stares, they are using a visual system built for extreme precision. Whatever they are looking at it with greater acuity and across a wider information spectrum than your eyes can provide. The stare is not vacant. It is maximal focus. And now, let us address the 4 distinct types of cat stare, because they are not all the same, and reading them correctly transforms your understanding of your relationship with your cat. The slow blink stare is the most emotionally significant. Research by Dr. Karen McComb at the University of Sussex, published in 2020 in the journal Scientific Reports, provided the first empirical evidence that the slow blink, a gradual, deliberate closing and reopening of the eyes during direct gaze, is a positive social signal that cats use both with other cats and with humans, and that this signal can be meaningfully exchanged between cats and humans bidirectionally. In the study, researchers and cat owners slow blinked at cats they knew and at unfamiliar cats. In both conditions, cats were significantly more likely to slow blink back when slow blinked at, and significantly more likely to approach the human after the exchange. The slow blink represents an intentional reduction of what in cat social language is an aggressive signal, the direct, unblinking stare, into an expression of ease, safety, and willingness to engage. When your cat stares at you and slowly closes and opens their eyes, they are communicating in their native social language. I am not alarmed by you. I am comfortable enough in your presence to lower my visual guard. You are safe. This is the cat equivalent of a genuine smile, not a performance for your benefit, but a spontaneous expression of their actual internal state. The hunting stare is entirely different. Body low, pupils dilated, ears slightly forward, on body still and coiled. This is the cat's ancient predatory attention lock. It activates at fast moving objects, rustling sounds, or any stimulus that triggers the prey detection system. When this gaze lands on you, usually when you wiggle your foot under a blanket or make a quick, jerky movement, you are briefly, in your cat's neurological experience, prey. This is not aggression or danger, it is instinct. But it is worth recognizing because the state driving it is categorically different from the slow blink. The cat in hunting mode is running ancient software. They are not choosing it. It simply activates. The demand stare is perhaps the most deliberately communicative. Your cat sits directly in front of you, makes eye contact, and maintains it, often accompanied by a single brief vocalization. Cats have evolved this behavior specifically in relationship with humans. Research from the National Institutes of Health documents that the meow, in its adult form, is a sound that cats produce almost exclusively toward humans, not toward other cats. They have developed a form of communication specifically for us. The demand stare is part of the same toolkit. Direct, intentional communication aimed at a creature the cat has learned will respond to social signals. The sentinel stare, the one that people find most unsettling, deserves its own careful examination. Your cat sits facing a specific corner of the room, or a specific spot on the ceiling, or the space beneath a piece of furniture. Their gaze is fixed, unmoving, sustained. They may sit like this for minutes at a time. They are not asleep. They are not distracted. They are looking at something, but you can see nothing. Before reaching for explanations that involve the supernatural, it is worth fully accounting for what the cat's sensory systems are actually capable of detecting. The rodent activity in walls, floors, and ceilings that is invisible to human detection is audible to the cat through both standard frequencies and ultrasonic ranges. A mouse moving inside a wall produces sounds in the 20,000 to 50,000 hertz range. Well, within canine and feline hearing, completely inaudible to humans. The cat sitting motionless and staring at a wall is, in many cases, tracking prey movement through the structure of the building with acoustic precision. Similarly, insects. The vibration patterns, movement sounds, and chemical signatures of insects inside walls, in crawl spaces, or behind baseboards are information streams that your cat's sensory apparatus processes in real time. The cat staring at a corner may be watching, through acoustic and olfactory information, the precise location of a cricket they cannot yet reach. Beyond this, there is the question of electromagnetic sensitivity. Research from multiple veterinary institutions, including a study from Colorado State University examining feline sensory capabilities, has documented that cats appear sensitive to electromagnetic fields at levels that are undetectable to humans. Some researchers have proposed this may contribute to the documented cases of cats appearing agitated before seismic events, possibly detecting the electromagnetic precursors that accompany tectonic stress. The sentinel stare is almost certainly not nothing, and it is directed at something real. The question is whether you have the sensory equipment to know what. Perhaps the most important thing science has established about the cat stare is what it reveals about the cat's inner life. Specifically, their attachment to you. For most of Western cultural history, cats were understood as fundamentally aloof, independent, and relationally indifferent. Animals that tolerated human presence for the practical benefits of food and shelter, but formed nothing resembling the deep social bonds seen in dogs. This understanding was not based on research. It was based on the surface behavior of an animal whose social signals are dramatically different from those of dogs. Research over the past decade has systematically dismantled this narrative. A 2019 landmark study from Oregon State University, led by researcher Kristen Vitale, used the same strange situation protocol developed by Mary Ainsworth to assess attachment in human infants and applied it to domestic cats and their owners. The results were striking. Cats showed attachment behaviors toward their owners that were statistically indistinguishable from the secure and insecure attachment patterns seen in human children. 65% of the cats tested were classified as securely attached to their owners. seeking contact upon their owner's return after a brief separation, using the owner as a secure base from which to explore, and showing clear distress at separation. What does this mean for the stare when your cat looks at you, particularly in that sustained, soft way that doesn't carry the tension of the hunting stare or the directness of the demand stare? They are engaging in what attachment researchers call visual checking. It is a behavior that securely attached individuals direct toward their attachment figure. A brief to sustained moment of visual contact that serves to confirm presence, confirm safety, and recharge the sense of security that allows confident, independent activity. Your cat stares at you for the same reason a securely attached toddler glances back at their parent across a room while playing. Not because they need anything in this moment, but because you are their anchor. And checking that you're still there is part of how they stay feeling safe. The final dimension of the cat stare that deserves examination is one that cat owners often sense intuitively, but rarely have the scientific language for. The possibility that cats, in their prolonged observation of you, are learning you in ways that are more sophisticated than most people assume. Research from the University of Tokyo, published in 2013 in the journal Animal Cognition, demonstrated that cats recognize their owner's voice and distinguish it from the voices of strangers, but show a pattern of recognition that is distinctly cat-like. They orient their attention, ears, eyes, toward the sound of their owner's voice without necessarily approaching or vocalizing in response. The cats knew their owner. They chose not to visibly respond. This is a feline social pattern, attending without performing, that humans often misread as indifference. Subsequent research from the same institution showed that cats track their owner's location in the environment through sound cues alone, maintaining an updated model of where their person is even when not directly observing them. They know where you are. They know when you've moved to a different room. They update their model of your location and activity continuously. The extended stare in this context may be data collection. Your cat, who has been living with you for months or years, has been assembling an extraordinarily detailed behavioral model of you. Your patterns, your moods, your predictable responses, your anomalies. Research from the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna has documented that domestic cats adjust their behavior in response to owner emotional state, demonstrating a sensitivity to human behavioral cues that requires not just immediate perception, but long-term pattern recognition, built on extensive observation. When your cat stares at you for extended periods, they may be reading you in ways you have not imagined, building the model, updating the data, understanding you better in their own way than you might like to think. The cat stare is not one thing. It is a family of related behaviors: slow blink love, predatory focus, communicative demand, sentinel alertness, and soft attachment check, each carrying a distinct psychological and emotional content that reflects the extraordinary complexity of an animal that is simultaneously an apex predator and a genuinely attached social companion. Understanding what your cat is communicating when they look at you changes the quality of the relationship. That sustained gaze across the room is not vacancy, it is attention, perhaps the most focused, most genuine, most sustained attention that any creature in your life directs your way. It is slow blink intimacy, hunting intelligence, sensory precision, and deep attachment, all wrapped in a form of communication that predates language by millions of years. Your cat is not staring at nothing, your cat is staring at you. And in their own precise, ancient, and genuinely complex way, they are telling you something true. Does your cat do the slow blink? Comment below and tell us the most intense or strangest cat stare moment you've experienced.